I played the whole DLC, checked every new item in the game. There's a total of 10 new legendary weapons, including a new Zeus Pack, 5 new incredibly powerful engravings, new outfits, new unique items, and a secret new ship design. And in this video I will show you how to get everything and which items are the best for your builds. Just one small update regarding our engraving limit bug. If you have more than 100 engravings in your engraving list for your weapons, you actually start losing your last engravings when you play the DLC and collect the new items. But there seems to be a response now from Ubisoft that looks very promising, that they might be working on it, so keep fingers crossed that they really do it. So if you're also having this issue, make sure to file a ticket at Ubisoft and also support this in the Ubisoft forum to make our voices heard to get this fixed. What many people overlooked is that there is also a second new weapon pack, which is the Zeus Pack. That pack contains a lightning sword and a lightning spear with some really cool electrical effects on it. You will not find this pack in the Helix store. Instead, you have to go to the shop where you purchased your game, then you type in Zeus, search for it, and you have to install this manually. The Zeus Pack also contains 500 Helix credits and it costs the same as a regular 500 Helix credits pack. So if you wanted to get Helix credits to buy any of the new stuff or the new weapons anyway, then just get the Zeus Pack, because then you would get those additional 2 weapons for free. But they are not really useful. First of all, they even come at level 5. That means you have to upgrade them with a lot of money and a lot of resources, which basically shouldn't be a problem at level 99, but at mid-level it can be really annoying. The spear slows down time whenever you make a critical hit on your enemies, and it also comes with a 10% crit chance increase, which is a unique trait that can normally not occur on melee weapons. The hunter damage on the other side doesn't make this weapon any better than the existing Master of Waters, which also has a 10% crit chance engraving, so you have to decide yourself if the legendary perk is so useful that you really want to get this. The sword is probably the worst sword in the game. The legendary perk allows you to get more damage after the 5th hit you make on the same enemy. I can't even think of when I made the last time 5 hits on the same enemy. It is almost impossible to do that. And then you even get 10% of the health of the enemy as your damage, which is literally nothing. You literally have to play SpongeBob with your enemies to make this work. So the Zeus Pack is definitely only for the looks, but Corfu Island actually had some really nice weapons here, and we will start with the Knife of Dalwun. The Knife of Dalwun has assassin damage and warrior damage, which is not really ideal. It should have damage with daggers or critical damage instead, but it unlocks the guaranteed assassination perk, which means when the weapon level, not your character level, when the weapon level of the Dalwun dagger is higher than the enemy's level, you're guaranteed to assassinate him. I've tested this and it actually works perfectly as long as you use the original Dalwun dagger. You can basically unequip your whole gear, have no assassination damage, and you can assassinate a mercenary on Nightmare without any problems. But when you try to engrave the perk on different weapons, you will realize that you can only do it on daggers. But that's not the only thing, because when you engrave it on a different dagger, it absolutely doesn't work. It's completely bugged. So at the moment this engraving is totally useless. It only works with the Dalwun dagger itself. The Dalwun dagger is an unmissable story item in the Corfu DLC, and you will find it pretty early at the very beginning of the story. The next legendary weapon you will collect is the second sight legendary bow. When you reach the big city on Corfu Island, there is a really well hidden legendary chest on the pirate warehouse, which is the only legendary chest on the entire island. The second sight has hunter damage, assassin damage and 200% headshot damage, but minus 100% warrior and assassin damage. To make this short, reducing your base damage is always a really bad idea, because your base damage is much more valuable than the tiny bit of headshot damage. That tiny bit of headshot damage will not make up the loss of damage you have on the other hand in your build here. The damage increase you get from the second sight for a normal body shot is from 350,000 to around 550,000 for a headshot, but only half of that is coming from the second sight engraving. But when you equip the bighorn bow, you will simply hit millions. So the argument is actually pointless. The bighorn bow is still way better, dealing around 3 times the damage in our build here. The bighorn bow will be still the unmatched #1 bow in the game. There is no way around it. The third legendary weapon on Corfu Island is the Mad Captain Sword. The Mad Captain Sword has warrior damage and hunter damage, so another double primary engraving, which is in itself not very good. It actually should have damage swords or critical damage instead, and it has the ability to heal yourself when you block your enemies. The problem with parrying is that you have to perfectly execute it to actually parry an enemy. If you just fail the window, you will get another hit and die. Parrying is probably the worst way to heal your character. It puts you in harm's way for no reason, and it definitely doesn't work on higher difficulties. You should always dodge and never use parry in this game. On top of that, the healing is way too little to be actually useful. So from the 3 Corfu Island items, only the Dalvon dagger actually makes sense, so let's hope that they fix it soon. And there was another weapons pack in the Helix store, called the Tartarus Set. The problem is with all these 5 weapons that you can only engrave the legendary perks on the same weapon type. That is a restriction that never existed in this game, but it seems to happen for every gear we got in this DLC. The Tartarus Set, the DLC weapons, every engraving can only be placed on the same weapon type. I would like to start with those 2 weapons here in the middle, and let's first check out the Cerberus Charge. The Cerberus Charge is a blunt weapon that grants you 33% melee charge speed and 33% melee damage. So the melee damage will likely only be a 33% warrior damage increase. But we already got 50% charge speed from the Sword of Kings, 25% from your abilities and 10% from your masteries. That means we already have an 85% time reduction for free on existing gear in this game. This is almost an instant charge, so it doesn't make sense to invest your money to further reduce your charge time, and it is likely that it doesn't stack and it is only reducing the remaining time by 33%, giving you a way smaller bonus. The next in the line is a dagger of Momokos. It gives you assassin damage and adrenaline, which is basically a useless engraving, and also 200% assassin damage when it is night. That is basically the same as a Knife of Dalvon, but with the restriction that it only works overnight. And the Knife of Dalvon is free, and both engravings can only be engraved on daggers. So just stick with the Dalvon dagger and don't waste your money. The Typhoon's Axe is actually a real gem. It has warrior damage and critical chance at full health. That is the only weapon in the game that has critical chance at full health, giving you a whopping 20% crit chance on a melee weapon when it is fully upgraded, which is not even possible normally. Normally you cannot even engrave 10% crit chance on a melee weapon, and this one gives you 20. That is absolutely crazy and opens a wide range of new possibilities. And the legendary perk gives you 200% critical damage when you use fire attacks. So simply engrave permanent fire on this weapon and this is an absolute beast. I would definitely recommend it, but the sad thing is that it only works on axes. I would so much like to use this engraving on swords. On the Titus Fury sword you get assassin damage and adrenaline. Adrenaline again is very bad, you should rather want damage swords here. But it has the increased battle cry of Ares duration ability. This one is the only one I actually got because I still have that engraving issue and I don't want my engravings to be deleted, so I only got the sword because this sounded really promising. I wanted to know if this is also working for Ares Madness. Increasing the Ares Madness ability would be insanely strong. But it turned out that when you use Ares Madness together with this sword, then the duration is still only 10 seconds. The Titus Fury does not increase the Ares Madness duration. You can only increase the Ares Madness duration when you use the plus 3 seconds duration for Ares Madness on your boots, or you play with the first civilization set that grants you 10 additional seconds. But it definitely works on the normal battle cry ability and it increases the duration from 20 seconds to be 40 seconds. The last legendary weapon of this set is the Ixion's Agony. It has hunter damage and elemental build up, so 2 perks which we don't really want, and then we have 200% adrenaline gained with fire attacks. Well, that sounds pretty nice, but on the other hand 200% adrenaline is just more adrenaline and we already have enough anyway, so what is the point in this weapon? I really don't like to have adrenaline engravings even though it's a 200% one. I would rather prefer damage and I would rather not get this weapon. So the only weapon I would really get is the Typhoon's Axe and maybe the bow. The other 3 are definitely not worth it. I know a lot of people don't really like to collect all the Ostrakas, but in this DLC you should definitely do this, because when you collect all the Ostrakas, you are awarded with a secret ship design. There's a secret chest that only spawns next to your resort on Corfu Island when you have completed all the 5 Ostraka challenges. When you loot it, you get the Raven response, which is probably a resemblance of the Valhalla crossover with some Valhalla Viking runes on it, but it actually looks really cool, and even if you don't like Valhalla, you should definitely get it. Since you have to solve the Ostrakas for getting the ship, and they are the most powerful ones ever, I'll directly start with the best Ostraka in the entire game, which can be located at the Collido farm, and the solution is at the northeastern tip of Corfu. That is the champion Ostraka, and that gives you 100% damage but minus all resistances. I just have to emphasize this again, it doesn't matter if you have -1, -100 or -1 million resistance. The game never kills you in a single hit, you will always survive, you will always have the time to heal yourself and be back to full health. So this negative effect is completely negligible, which means you can easily combine it with the Falx of Olympus and with other engravings which are on your weapons. This simply makes it the best engraving in the entire game. Literally no negative effect and just an insane damage boost engravable everywhere. The next one has a really big problem. It's called the Mystios Memories, which can be found in the Forgotten Ruins. The solution for that Ostraka can be found at the northwestern part on the cliff with the Spartan shield. And that unlocks the flaming attack's duration increase. It will increase the flaming attack's duration from 25 seconds to 60 seconds. But there is already another engraving that will give you unlimited fire damage on your weapon, and it will never run out, and it will deal exactly the same damage. So there's actually absolute no reason to have the flaming attacks increase. If you want to use an engraving for that anyway, then simply use the unlimited engraving. There is no use for the flaming attack time increase. It is an absolute useless engraving. There is a similar Ostraka at the Temple of Poseidon, and the solution is at the northern tip of the city, the Father and Son Ostraka, that gives you a venomous attack time increase. The time increases from 25 seconds to 60 seconds. But there's also a similar engraving in the base game that just gives you unlimited use of poison damage on your weapon, and it will also deal exactly the same damage. So similar to the fire damage engraving, this is also totally useless. Just use the unlimited one, which is in the base game already. The Captain and the Cyclops can be found at that small camp here at the beginning of Corfu Island, and the solution is in Alienos village at that big pot. That engraving unlocks 100% headshot damage but plus 50% adrenaline consumption. I would rather engrave 50% headshot damage and don't have that huge negative effect. Last but not least, wine time can be found in the quarry, and the solution is at the vineyard on Corfu Island. Wine time unlocks 2% damage dealt and blocked converted to your health. And it also has a minus 25% all resistances. If you think this is good, then you are actually wrong, because the damage dealt does not depend on your damage, it depends on the damage the enemy can actually receive. So it depends on the enemy's health. If you fully kill him, you will just get 2% of his full health converted to your health. So similar to the existing health return engravings, this is very weak, it has an additional negative effect, and I would never use it. There are 2 or let's say 3 new outfits in the Corfu DLC. The first one is the Getaway Garb, which you get at the beginning, and they don't really work as complete sets. They are only consisting of torsos, which magically convert your whole character. The second one is an Origin style assassin team, which looks really awesome, and it is unlocked after beating the Corfu story. But there is also a secret hidden Corfu set, which consists of mainly unique Corfu items. They are all unmissable quest items, so you will have them after beating the Corfu DLC anyway. That one is Barnabas' Lost Eye Patch, the Sunset Bracers, the Vacation Belt, the Resort Shoulder Pads and the Corfu Greaves. But from all of those, only the Resort Shoulder Pads are actually really good because they contain the unique engraving chance to only receive half damage on a torso, which is normally never possible to get on a torso, and that opens new possibilities for new tank builds. When you equip all of that pieces, you get the same layout as the standard Brawler's armor. So it's not a really new one, but definitely some items really worth keeping, especially the torso. These were all the items in the new DLC in every pack you can get. I hope you liked this guide. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like, and see you next time.